In this video, we'll be looking at partition and British policies on the lead up to partition. The Viceroy of India is like the president of the country. It's like he's the head of the government of India. He is the representative of the crown. And the last Viceroy of India is this fellow here at center, Lord Louis Mountbatten, known colloquially as Dickie. The last Viceroy of India came in February of 47. And the date for partition that was set before he comes in is June 30th of 1948. Now, jot these dates down. So before he comes in, before Mountbatten comes in, there is a leave date set for June 30th of 48. Mountbatten arrives and he says, nope, we're going to accelerate it earlier. Now take a look at when he says we're going to accelerate it earlier. June 3rd of 47. He says, we're going to leave in 6 weeks. The British will leave in 6 weeks. He moves it up a year. Why does he do this? Many believe that a civil war is fast approaching, and few could see a peaceful way out. This is a policy to cover British interest far more than to benefit Indians. And this speed acceleration puts Pakistan at a disadvantage once they become independent, because there hasn't been the structures built to provide for its transfer of power and its establishment. So the creation of Pakistan as it comes to be is very ad hoc and disjointed, and it's very ad hoc and disjointed because of this accelerated calendar. So in order to make this work, there needs to be a border drawn. So in this time period, there did become the British policy, we're going to have a two-state solution. We're going to have India and Pakistan. I would encourage you, if you have time, to watch the documentary that I've linked, made by the BBC, Partition, The Day India Burned. It really develops this time period quite well. They bring in this guy July 8th, 47, Cyril Radcliffe. So just again, if we look here, June, Mountbatten says we're going to leave in August. Then in July, this fellow arrives. Sir Cyril Radcliffe, had never been to India before, and the British picked him because they thought, rather than what they called an old India hand, someone who is spent their career in India, knows the country very well, they intentionally picked Cyril Radcliffe because they thought he would be neutral, that he wouldn't have vested interest in one thing or another. So Radcliffe's job was to draw a line between India and Pakistan, and there were many considerations for his border placement. Yes, he used demographics with the idea that Muslim-majority areas should go to Pakistan and non-Muslim areas, so Sikh and Hindu areas, should go to India. But in addition to that, he also used natural features like rivers, infrastructure like communication lines, power plants, canal headworks, and culture. He also used outdated maps that may have shown a village or a series of villages being Muslim majority when in fact they no longer were. No line could have satisfied all Indian parties, Hindu, Muslim, Punjabis, Bengalis, Sikhs. Regardless of where the line was, it would have left some people on the side of the border where they didn't want to be. Drawing borders in this way is, of course, impossible to do. It's dividing up mixed communities. It's dividing up cities that are, you have to put the city fully on one side of the border or the other, but the cities themselves are mixed. What do you do when a city is Muslim majority, for example, but the infrastructure that make that city work are on the Hindu majority side, where the industry is on one side, but the population is on the other, where the economic power of the city is in the Hindu side, but the city proper is Muslim. It's very, very complicated. And it's an act of hubris to think that a simple drawing of a line would solve any of these issues. And in fact, it does lead to violence just through the very act of drawing the lines, because what ends up happening while this is going on, while Cyril Radcliffe is drawing his lines for these 5 weeks, word goes out into the countryside that Muslim majority areas will be Pakistan and Hindu and Sikh majority areas will be India. And it actually leads to intra-village violence, ethnic cleansing, where they say, well, we want our area to be Muslim majority, therefore in Pakistan, so we'll just kill all the Hindus in our village, or vice versa. But this isn't some real-time data that Cyril Radcliffe is using. He's not taking into consideration, of course, this ethnic cleansing programs. He's using decades-old data in some cases. So we have actually the act of drawing the line leading to ethnic cleansing. And the line is completed, and the British sit on it and do not tell the public, tell the Indians or the Pakistanis where the line is until 2 days after independence. So Indian independence on the 15th of August of 47, Pakistani independence on the 14th of August of 47, and the line comes out 2 days afterwards on the 17th. So you can wake up and say, yay, I'm in India. India's a new country. And then 2 days later you find out that your village, your ancestral home, is actually in another country. The British released this 2 days after because they know that there will be border violence. And they don't want border violence in British India. They want border violence in independent India. That's the reason. Partition is the largest mass migration and the largest refugee crisis in recorded human history. I'll say that again. Partition leads to the largest mass migration and the largest refugee crisis in recorded human history. Full stop. Anywhere in the world, any point in time. 15 million people move. 1 to 2 million people die, and that includes from intrapersonal violence along the border crossings, in the cities with ethnic cleansing, as well as famine and issues relating to the refugee crisis side of things. We also find that this leads to the homogenization of very diverse, multicultural, multi-ethnic cities. Karachi, which was nearly half Hindu, ends up in Pakistan. But by the end of that decade, almost all of those people, all of those Hindu people, flee. So you have this multi-ethnic place. Lahore is one of the great artistic centers of South Asia. People of all different kinds mixing in the 30s. Today it's 100% or 99% Muslim. On the other side, New Delhi, was designated the capital of India, but it's a third Muslim. Many of those Muslims left. Now, Delhi still today has a very, very large Muslim population, but we have this migration of people who fear because of what we saw at Noakhali, because of what we saw at the Great Calcutta Killings, that if I stay, I'll be next. So these people are leaving because they fear that they won't be safe in the city that they were born into, the city maybe that their ancestors have been buried in and that they've lived in for hundreds or thousands of years. And so we have mass migration out of fear, and that has a kind of a chilling effect on the quality of cities, right, as they become more homogenous. We can see here from this map that we have the movement of Hindu and Sikh refugees out, mainly out of Punjab, for Sikhs, into India, and the movement of Muslim refugees into East Pakistan and West Pakistan. We're not really looking at it in this class, but there are, I think it's in the reading, there are princely states that did not accede to the Union, and then they are forcibly annexed by the governments of Pakistan and India. The borders today are still unclear. India and Pakistan, both nuclear states, have fought 3 wars over Kashmir in the north. The only war, I mean, like, this really raises the question, this map here raises the question. If it was already 2 nations, why did so many people need to move? Or were the quote 2 nations not geographic but cultural? Or was the notion of there being 2 nations a fiction? Regardless, this reification of this 2 nations theory that begins way back in 1909 with the Morley-Minto reforms and the creation of separate electorates results in profound human tragedy.